What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Surfing the Stream, where every week we're on a quest to find out what is the greatest movie of all time. The Strangers, Chapter 1. This was a movie that, when it originally got announced, I was pretty excited about it because they said it was going to be a trilogy, and I absolutely love The Strangers. I think that is one of the best horror films of all time. It's in my top 10. But then I saw the first trailer, and then I saw all the reviews, and it killed my expectations and excitement for this movie. So after watching it, it's not nearly as bad as what the reviews led me to believe, but it's still not a good movie regardless. About 30-40% of this is kind of a rehash of the OG film. So a lot of people are saying in the reviews, oh, this is a one-to-one remake and yada, yada, yada. And that's not the case. I don't think it's a one-to-one remake. There's a lot of the high points of the OG movie is done in this movie. So full spoilers, like the shotgun scene where he kills the friend that walks in, that happens in this movie, but it's not the same circumstances. The ending is obviously very similar. A lot of the stuff with like the record player and them being in the house and them writing on the walls, a lot of that is the exact same. Them moving out of the house into a shed, that happens. A lot of this movie is similar, yes. But in terms of story elements, it's not really the same. So I'm going to stick with about 30-40% is a rehash of the original movie. While I'm watching this movie, I couldn't help but think to myself, I really just want to watch the original. Like the entire time, I'm like, I could just pause this, turn it off, and then go watch the original. And this movie feels like, and this is going to be kind of an insult to fan-made films, but this feels like a fan-made remake film. Like someone went out of their way and said, hey, let's do exactly what part one was for the most part and just change some shit up a little bit. Like not copy the homework, but we're going to do it on like a minimalistic budget and shit like that, right? So to me, it does not feel like a studio film. It feels like a fan-made film that you would find on YouTube. The acting is much to be desired, but it's the lack of chemistry between the two leads that really squanders any momentum that this movie gains at certain points. I never once believed that they were a couple, despite the many attempts at telling me that they were. Sure, the dialogue and the writing doesn't help anything by any means. I just found the characters to just not be compelling and very, very underwhelming. And that leads me to the story, which is probably my biggest issue with the entire movie. The reason the OG film was so terrifying was because it was a complete random act of violence. There was no rhyme or reason to any of it. The killers tortured them, psychologically and then physically until they died. This film completely disregards that notion of the OG film. So this movie starts off with this couple going to a new city for a job interview for the girlfriend. And they stop off in the city midway through, eat at a diner, and it's just like you can make the case that the boyfriend just pisses off a lot of the people with some like passive aggressive comments. I won't sit here and say that, like Chandler in Friends, he always makes jokes when he's uncomfortable. It's kind of the same situation, although not nearly as good. Okay, don't get me wrong. But he just makes like passive aggressive comments to people in this town, people in the diner, and then we also have, for whatever reason, the girlfriend's a vegetarian, and they made sure we knew this multiple times in the movie. Like, that irritates people in the diner and in the town. To me, you can make the case that someone got pissed off and they decided to fuck with these people, especially from the diner where they knew that they would be staying in this Airbnb. So by doing all of that stuff prior to them actually getting to the house, this act of violence doesn't seem random. By doing all that heavy lifting, by kind of showing us how they actually get to the house and giving a little bit of backstory to them, it doesn't make this random act of violence random anymore, which immediately makes this a throwaway slasher film. Again, that was the reason, or one of the big reasons why the OG film was so fucking good. At the very end, why are you doing this to us? And it's because you're home. Like, no rhyme or reason, and that's why the OG film was so fucking terrifying. That's why the OG Halloween movie is so terrifying, is because, and I know they fucked this up in Halloween 2, but in that movie, it's just a random act of violence. It's just someone coming off the street and just killing you. And that is terrifying. It's not someone that you know. While there are some decent moments throughout, ultimately, this film fails to deliver on all accounts. And again, this is a weird one to review. On its own, I can't recommend people to watch this. There's an infinitely better version of it out there, the original Strangers movie. But on the other hand, this is chapter 1 of a planned trilogy. You know, it's supposed to be 4.5 hours. So this is the first hour and a half of that 4.5 hours. So maybe chapter 2, like, retroactively makes this one worth watching. Time will tell. But as of now, this is 100% a skip. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time. Just go watch the original. So yeah, overall, guys, it's not a very good movie. A lot of poor decisions, a lot of bad acting, a lot of bad writing, and a lot of bad chemistry. A lot of bad chemistry. Like I said, time will tell. But guys, if you have seen The Strangers Chapter 1, let me know in the comments below. I wouldn't say that I hate the movie, but again, it's a pointless movie. There is a better version of this movie already out there. But guys, that's going to be it for me. I will catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.